most people have brought this week, because I think everybody knew Handlock would be huge, Shaman would probably be huge. The rogues are almost all weighted with double preparation, no Mankrik, no Vanessa, no Jandis for the people who have been trying that one out as well. Just the full-on go as fast as you can because you're not going to die, just race build. The reason you've got to get used to this deck if you're hoping the rogue will go away is because you can build it very, very differently. You can build it very much like a normal tempo rogue and kind of throw the combo in there, or you can build it like a combo rogue and throw the tempo in there. And what we're seeing pretty much across the board this week in all the regions is we're seeing this go for the combo, but you can still play it as a tempo deck if required. There were some exceptions. I think Casey and Bunny Hopper went from the more board controlling route, but yeah, we are seeing this build that Rami's got right here is the predominant build with good cause, because it's quite a slow meta this week relative to what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it seems to fit quite well, and I think your description of it being kind of the third deck in the metagame is a good one, because I think that it can do well against both of the tier 1s, right, as they take a little bit of time to get online. I did just double check and triple check both of the key cards on this and on the Battlefy bracket, and the list that we had were correct. There is no weapon rogue. There's a quest mage, just that 4th deck. So
the stats guy copy-pasted Dread-Eye's decks instead of Rami's. I shall shout at that bloke later. He's obviously just rubbish at his job, so we'll get him.
Yeah. What an
idiot.
What a fool.
All right, Rami's.
It's quiet.
Oh, indeed.
Quiet.
Is you want to waste some resources killing my thing? Sure, waste those resources. I'm good. I've got a secret passage. I'll dig up another one if I need to. I like this.
Yeah, this is good. Shaman can punish this, right, with a combination of like Perpetual Flame, Lightning Bolt. But it's not guaranteed. It would take up the whole turn, and Dimitri would have to have those things, right? This is going into turn 3, which means that, say, Serpentine Portal plus Lightning Bolt or Perpetual Flame wouldn't do it. So there's very limited options, even in the deck, to be able to deal with this. And Dimitri can...
Oh, he hits the devolving missiles! Oh, my. He just needs to not have... Yeah, the pause here is like, do I want to risk the 1 in 8 of it hitting 3 times in the wrong place?
Because he does have a guaranteed clear if he wants to. It would just mean that he would have no crystal. Oh no, he actually would reset his crystals. Lightning Bloom, Perpetual Flame, Molten Blast, or other way around. Lightning Bloom, Molten Blast, Perpetual Flame.
He's going for that.
Oh no, he's going for devolving? Okay.
He's guaranteeing his devolving hits. He doesn't want to take the 1 in 8 chance, because he loses the game if that stays up, most likely. But he's decided to waste the resources and say, okay, unlucky.
Yeah, so if you go for the play that I initially had seen, which would be Lightning Bolt, then Molten Blast, the field contact. Actually, I'm unsure if you Molten Blast the Divine Shield if it actually summons it, because it says deal some blah blah damage, summon that many 1/1 elementals. It can change based on spell damage, but I think it's built into the card text and not actually reliant on dealing damage. So I think it would have worked. But the big thing for Dimitri here is I think he was wanting to hold on to the Perpetual Flame for the inevitable reload from Rami, because Rami played that hand out very aggressively, right? Played the field contact with just 1 draw and a Guardian Og Merchant. So he's like, well, he probably has at least some kind of reload. So I like that play better no matter how the interaction ends up working out.
Yeah, and Rami's play I think was good, but he seems to be getting upset there that he got Perpetual Flamed as well. Well, winning this one with tempo is quite difficult, I feel. Like, you get some damage into the tempo, it helps a lot, but you still really want to combo your deck. So if he was Divine Shielding his field contact just to get some 3s into the face, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with that. I thought he was doing it to draw loads of cards next turn, which I'm absolutely fine with.
If he hit Zapper here, didn't hit Zapper. That's unfortunate. He could have Perpetual Flame the Octobot, which we can see actually isn't that threatening of a card right now, because Rami's hand is pretty empty, and the cards that he would hit aren't the best ones, right? There's no field contact. There's really only one combo/battlecry card that he could combine with the field contact. I suppose Kazakis is reasonable. Rami could even do something like Kazakis first, get the Golem, and then trade into with the Octobot to reduce the cost of the Golem.
Oh, so close. I think you're right. Like, it's not that great, but Dimitri's worried because I think the first field contact from where he sat may have looked a little bit frivolous, which means that in his mind, Rami's probably got the second field contact in hand. So he really wanted to get rid of this Octobot to stop another crazy field contact turn. As it happens, none of that is actually happening in reality, and Rami is in a bit of a tough spot.
So many options.
I'm looking for
Certainly is.
good mercenary.
Kazakis can bail him out of a rough situation. The hard part here is which one does he choose? Is it 1, which I see chosen the most often in this deck? He chose 2, or 5. The second, 2, makes sense if you really don't think about it. 1 can be chained together for a draw with field contact. It's more flexible with your turns, but right now his hand is just empty. He needs something with a little more oomph, a little more punch,
What I think he's going for here, because I agree entirely, he definitely needs some punch, but he's got that secret passage, and I feel that what he's going for is a distraction tactic. He's going to make, a board, which he's got right now, then he's going to play the minion, the 5/5 Golem, which is going to be a more distracting, and then he can passage with plenty of mana and try and get the absolute maximum out of it. Because if he gets the maximum out of a secret passage, like the full 4 cards used or burned up, he's then in a position where field contact could just win him the game a turn or 2 later. But what he mustn't do is take damage. So this is just a distraction. It's like a snake with 2 heads and no tail, right? Like he's trying to bite his opponent, and his opponent's trying to walk around the back and just punch it in the tail. But there's another head there, so Dimitri's kind of distracted. That's how I see it.
Ah, man. Hate those 2-headed snakes. Such a nuisance.
You live in, the States, so you probably actually see those sort of things, like 2-headed alligators and things, right?
Yeah, 2-headed alligators are the least of your worries in Florida, though, so.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man. That's a topic for a different day, though. Rami, these hits are okay. He still has a board clear. He could go Rune Dwarf on the Dark Glare, trade over the 2/2, and then Brain Freeze down the 3/3. Could also Dagger if he wants to hold on to his resources. I don't know if he necessarily is sure what he would even want from the Rune Dwarf yet. Kind of depends on what his next sequence of draws is. If he'll need more card draw or if he'll need more damage or removal. He has the damage with the Dagger that he can deal now. Dagger may not be able to clear things later, but Rune Dwarf will be. So I like the play there. Oh, well then. He doesn't need another Perpetual Flame, that's for sure.
Right.
So it's between Devolving Missiles and Vivid Spores. Vivid Spores, he just doesn't have enough minions yet, even though Vivid Spores is incredibly powerful later. Devolving Missiles would bring this Golem down to a 2-drop, which is reasonable. Okay, Vivid Spores. He's saying, all right, you're out of removal. I'm going with the Spores.
I mean, the problem that Dimitri has is that Rami's getting enough mana together. If he gets some cards, which the deck does, he's only 3 or 4 turns away from winning. Sorry, what are you oofing at?
He can, because of the Arcane and Luminary on the board, he can actually Lightning Bloom, which will then overload and summon the 3/3 Elemental and Vivid Spores this turn.
All right.
Because it makes cards that didn't start in your deck cost 2 less. And so that's why the Vivid Spores cost 2.
That's terrifying now for Rami. Rami's clock has just gone from 3 or 4 turns down to 2 turns. And now he's going to have to find some plunderers. So Orb, Swindle, Passage, plunder some things again. He needs to buy himself at least another 1 turn. Things have gone pretty bad for him here.
Yeah, the hardest part when you lose your field contact early without getting a good train of draws with this Garrote Rogue is actually getting through like that mid phase of your deck. Secret Patches help. You want to dump as much stuff as possible. Okay, Shroud of Concealment's good. It gets it out of his deck and also gets those cards. Cold Neophyte, also very good. Oh, is he going to dump a Garrote? He's going to run out of damage if he dumps a Garrote, but he might be in a desperation situation. The main thing here is to dump as much stuff as possible, which would mean, like, Cold Neophyte Octobot, but he needs the second Octobot. And
he does.
Or to dump the Garrote. So it's just going to have to go with double Neophyte here. So that's a reasonable turn, honestly. He got to draw some cards, he got the field contact in hand, and he's going to block Dimitri from being able to really do much in the ways of completing the quest. It's just, he still needs a good couple turns here, and I don't know if he has it.
I might have been in favour of just dumping the Garrote there. I think it's the thing that we haven't got good at yet as a whole, as a community playing this deck, is when to just throw it into your deck and say, I'm in deep trouble, I need to get lucky, it needs to be the bottom cards. Yeah, if I hit the bloods, I lose, but if it's not in my deck, I lose anyway. I think there's a lot of sort of fiddling around and learning how the maths actually works out. And with so many different builds, it's always slightly different as well. So he seems to think he can still win some of the time the normal way.
Yes, us as a collective, the entire Hearthstone community.
Yep. Me and all the other people who can't play this deck.
Are bad at Garrote Road. That's funny. It's true, though. It's a very difficult deck to play. Every game is different.
It's weird, right? Because the actual combo is just 8 times 4 is 32. Like, it's the simplest combo ever. That's what you do. You do 8 lots of 4 damage. But all the middling bits and pieces, and the fact that you need to know the maths of, well, if I put them in now, you know, I don't get to get the spell damage, so 1 or 2 might go off for 2 damage. Can I get away with that? Blah, blah, blah. All of that maths is yet to be properly researched.
Yeah, I will agree with you. Maths. All right. Well, Rami has thinned out his deck quite a bit. Okay. Had to go with a quick option there. Picked Brain Freeze for the card draw. So we only have 2 cards left in deck at the end of next turn. He can go Octobot, Aug Merchant. That'll be 3 mana.
There's a Swindle left.
Garrote, which would be 4/5 mana. Then Refreshing Spring Water, which would draw everything from his deck. So that's +2 spell damage, which is all he can get. Because he only has Brain Freeze, Swindle. Oh, he has 3 cards left, excuse me. Yeah, we'll draw one naturally at the end of the turn, so it would be guaranteed. Unless all the bloods are at the very end. But you're right, he still has a Swindle left, but it would cost 2. But they're both spells, so Refreshing Spring Water would counter it. So he does have lethal next turn.
He's in a good spot, yeah, incredibly.
4 times 8
that's
is
if
32.
he's alive.
And
4 times 8 is 32.
This is Lightning Bolt? He's dead? What? He's dead!
Oh my, what a game!
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He needed exactly Lightning Bolt. He needed exactly Lightning Bolt. That was a...
I mean, look at the 2 faces. Dimitri's like, yep, I'm smug because I just got lucky. And Rami's... he's in horror. What's he even watching? It's just unfolding in front of him. And he went straight to the keyboard for probably some G's. G and G. Because they're obviously friends. They obviously get on. It's like... He's like, what is this? What are you doing to me?
That was insane. Yeah, so that was guaranteed lethal next turn for Rami because he had the discounted Refreshing Spring Water. There would have only been 2 spells left in the deck. It would have refreshed the crystals, would have allowed him to cast the Swindle. It was 32 damage from hand, not including what was left on the board. I mean, Rami was feeling it. He knew. He thought he had that in the bag because it's pretty rare at that stage that you can complete Brucon, play Brucon, and deal 11 damage from hand on the same turn. If we look at it, investment opportunity, it could have hit Feral Spirits, second Serpent Shrine Portal, second Novice Zapper. I mean, there actually weren't that many Overload cards left in the deck. It was like a 1 in 6, I think. They hit Lightning Bolt, so not the craziest, but whoo, that was close. That was real.
I think Rami, it wasn't just that turn that was getting to Rami there. I think the whole game kind of, everything just felt like it was going against him, right from the guidance on turn 2, getting rid of his first field contact and so on. I think all the way through he was just like, oh no, RNG hates me this particular game, but I don't think he was that unlucky. I think he took a couple of chances early on and they didn't come off. When you take a chance, it's called a chance for a reason, TJ.
Yeah, I actually think that was a very well-played game from Rami, honestly. Like, Quest Shaman going into the turn 3, expecting him to have a way to deal the extra damage to the field contact and Perpetual Flame. I think like he navigated that quite well, given the information that he had, right? So, and he had lethal set up going into turn 9, which after your early game gets, you know, stuffed like that, you know, so well by your opponent, being able to still piece together guaranteed lethal on turn 9 is pretty impressive. But Dimitri was able to go just fast enough.
So it's going to be the Shaman we quickly saw there versus the Brutes. Here they come. There's going to be some Brutes flying around, TJ. And I don't know how to cast Brute without saying the word Brute 1,000 times. We're going to have a challenge where we just aren't allowed to say the word or something. But that's where we're at with this deck. It's make Brutes, and if that goes wrong, Lions frenzy them in the face.
Yeah, so this matchup is interesting when you don't get Brutes, right? Because both decks kind of get going about as fast. It's just that Rogue, while they're getting going, they have the upside of they're playing minions to get going, and Fell Demon Hunter, or the Brute Demon Hunter, is a deck that just doesn't have removal. If you Divine Shield a field contact, that field contact is living. Outside of extraordinary circumstances like a card from Illidari Studies, or an extraordinary use of resources like Kane plus Hero Power, that field contact is sticking on the board. And Garrote Rogue can get a guaranteed lethal as early as 6, which is insane, but usually like around turn 7 or turn 8. That, however, is an amazing hand from Dimitri. This is exactly, this hand is one of the only hands that I could justify keeping a Brute, is Sigil and Tusk Piercer, because you can set that up to have a guaranteed 2 draws. It's actually a guaranteed 3 draws for in all cases, because you get the Tusk Piercer draw and the trade for 2 mana. 1 card is discounted, so you can potentially go even faster. Usually you don't want to keep Brutes because it takes up a card slot. You'd rather draw it in your sequence, because then you're completing a quest, usually, and actually making it cost less. And because it'll block any outcast on the left side of your hand. So it is a risky keep, even with the God Hand. But we'll see. He's kind of all in on this Brute, to be honest. If he doesn't hit more card draw on essentially the next turn, because it's all front loaded, then he might be in some trouble.
But the whole deck is card draw. Let's face it. I mean, you can miss, but there's a lot of card draw there. Rami does have double brain freeze. That could be relevant. Of course, if he gets a Plunderer to go with that, he can take down at least the first Brute. But Dimitri picking up the second Brute, that's where I feel that the game will kick off. Will Dimitri get enough card draw to get that second one down rapidly? And yeah, Rami's not messing around. He needs the board here to be able to put some more damage into those Brutes.
Yeah.
Evolving Missiles? Doesn't
probably.
Does it do it? Turns a 7 into a 4?
I guess, I don't know. Deep Freeze is a guaranteed win if the game goes to turn 8 or turn 7 if you get an Octobot discount. This was the more I think about this from Dimitri's perspective, the more I actually don't like it. And here's why. Because with this hand, he kind of front loads all of his draw. So if he doesn't actually get the Brutes down on his Sigil turn, he's in trouble. If Cold Neophyte had come down on this turn, what would happen then? He just would have wasted the Sigil. He wouldn't be able to complete the Brute, most likely. He can get 1 Brute down here, actually.
Well, you're right. Neophyte would have been pretty painful.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's brutal.
Ah, okay. Now if he hits one more draw, he's golden, because then he can get both brutes down for free. He can get both brutes down.
There it is.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. If this draws philosophy, I'm done. Okay.
Missed.
Noobs the philosophy. Yeah.
Rami can clean up quite a lot of this, because one brute doesn't kill a rogue very quickly.
Yes, that's true. But he has to expend a lot of resources, and Dimitri didn't sacrifice that much
So
to get it down.
I mean, it's both brutes, no philosophy. So philosophies will not work for the whole game now. So devolving missiles into double brain freeze puts Rami in a good spot most of the time, I would say.
Yeah, well, the thing is the philosophies aren't useless because they can copy spirit jailers, which means your Lion's Frenzy gets bigger faster once you get to that point. And secondly, you know, he does have to use all of these things instead of furthering his own game plan, which means that Dimitri now has more time. He can. Oh no!
Plus, he's low-rolled the hell out of them as well. That's an absolute mess.
That's not really low rolling. Like, those are just average statted minions for the cost.
Yes.
He brought one down to 5 and one down to 6, and those are like the exact, or maybe slightly above average stat line for each of those. So.
Oh, get used to lapidaries, by the way, because we're going to be seeing some of those later, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Spoilers. All right, well, that's... It feels like he slowed it down until you see Dimitri's next turn, where that he now knows that, or he will think that Rami's used up basically all of his removal. There isn't that much in the deck apart from Plunderers later. And Dimitri can actually just put a hodgepodge of things on the board and sort of do it all again over the next 2 turns here.
Yeah. All right, so Crimson Superman would be the 3rd, Chaos Strike would be the 4th. Oh, I mean, or you can just hit Spectral Sight.
Never stop searching.
That works too.
Philosophy on the Spirit J, like you said. Oh, you can glide. That's a decision. Obviously, you can't do it this turn, but that's a decision for later because it does mess up the rogue if you think the rogue has been gathering their resources. But as Rami's been kind of all hands on deck trying to get rid of things, you might just want to glide for yourself later, not your opponent as well. Yeah.
Timing on the Spirit Jailers is also a pretty big deal because you want the Soul Fragments to be drawn the turn after you play Kurtrus because that just beefs up your Lion's Friendly even more. But he's going to be completing quests next turn, depending on how he wants to do it, right? Whether it's glide or whether it's something that comes off the top. And then he's going to be playing Kurtrus on 6, probably in combination with the other Spirit Jailer if he has it. And then a kill on 7 is reasonable to expect in this instance because Rami has already taken damage, so he's low enough. There's no taunts, so Dimitri doesn't have to worry about having to spend mana on Kayn, so can spend that mana on drawing cards instead.
We need to be a little bit careful here as well at sort of going too deep down the complex route. Like, there's some big stuff on the board. He's got some big stuff in hand. He might just be able to hit Rami for the next 2 turns and just kill him.
True. Yep.
He's actually got like quite a few minions and a weapon that hurts you here. He might not need to go complicated here.
Yep, that's true. There's the risk of running out of damage with Lion's Frenzy, and then you have no win condition. You have to be 100% sure that you're going to kill your opponent. So
there are one thief in Rami's deck. So there's one thief in Rami's deck left, which you can get barrier with. That's kind of your only healing option really as the rogue. So you sometimes have to allow for the extra 8 there.
If it's late enough in the game, I mentioned earlier you can also get Deep Freeze, which is basically if the brutes are gone, an automatic win, essentially. Because outside of actual Kurtrus plus a Kayn and a Viper and a Peddler, there's just nothing left. There's no power left. But yeah, here you go. Just kind of getting in there with minions.
Yeah. While the rogue is reacting to these boards, it's doing nothing. This is if you play rogue without the minions, without the Mancrick, without Finesse, those cards at the lower ranks on ladder, you've run into a lot of aggro, and you soon find actually you just don't deal with this sort of board very well. you can deal with it, but you're not advancing your own stuff. You start wasting prize plunderers, and then when you eventually draw your field contact, you've got nothing left. You're totally Ian Bealed all over the place, and you just can't draw any cards.
Do you know what this golem is?
It's a 5/5. Your turn. What are the abilities? I don't know. I
had
was
rush,
busy
draw 2
talking
cards, I
nonsense,
think?
and then he had a 5/5 in his hand. Could have been, but then
It's quiet. Too quiet.
That's an upgrade.
I wouldn't like to put anything on that. All right, Rami's setting up, good to go, but he is in a hurry, and is he just... He's not dead next turn, right?
That's an
8,
upgrade.
9, 10,
Probably.
12, 13, 14.
He's very close to
15.
dead.
It's really close to dead next turn, isn't it? Probably a mana short or similar is how it feels. That's how I play Hearthstone, on feel, even though there's numbers on the cards that tell me what they do. So Rami's trying to burn basically as much of his cards, his deck as possible here. This isn't about digging so much as clearing the way to try and win the game next turn. Because he knows he's in so much trouble here.
Yeah. So there's 10 on board. Just Lion's Frenzy plus Chaos Strike is 4. Hits Skull. I mean...
The I-Beam, presumably just to take care of the field contact in the most efficient way, just to make it really awkward for Rami. He's just checking he hasn't got 1-turn lethal, then he'll set up the 2-turn if he hasn't.
But none of these cards will be discounted because they already played at both portions. But that's 5 damage. So he's at 15. That's 16. 17. And the hero power. That's lethal.
GG. 2-0 to DimitriKazov and his, I don't know, aggressive lineup? I don't even know what this lineup is. It's got brutes in it, which makes everything confusing.
I mean, he brooded him good. Brooded him good. Yeah, that was I mean, the even though the brutes kind of got dealt with, in a way they didn't, because at that point, all Dimitri needed was to get some damage in, and even though Rami had ways to deal with the minions that come out, the Lady Prestor, for instance, got killed the turn it was the turn it came down. The Soul Shard Lapidary still got in some damage, and that ended up being enough for Dimitri to take the win. And the line that you mentioned of not even spending the full turn to try and complete the Kurtrus, which I like, because I mentioned it at the very beginning with the punish to the Brute Keep in that instance with front-loaded draw, would have been Cult Neophyte. And that can also ruin the turn after Kurtrus, because let's say Dimitri goes with the complete the quest line, plays Kurtrus, and then boom, field contact, blah, 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 Cult Neophyte. Then you're delayed a turn from killing and potentially even more, and then he could have found a situation to lose. So ending the game as fast as possible was a smart decision there from Dimitri, I feel.
And he is down to the Handlock, which I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like it's the best deck on ladder right now, but not necessarily so much in tournaments like this where it's quite a beatable deck. If you know everybody's bringing this deck, you can take it on pretty well, I feel.
It's one of those decks that's kind of face up in a sense, right? Where you always know what they're capable of. They make it to 10 cards left in their deck. Boom, you know that they can play a 1-mana 6/6 taunt, or 3-mana deal 6 lifesteal in the form of the Bloodshard Bristleback. You can keep track of the cost of Flesh Giants to know when you have to worry about in 8/8 coming down for cheap. You can track what their hand size is in order to determine when Anetheron and Goldshire Knoll can come out.
Yep.
And you know their reach, right? Their reach is whatever's on their board plus, times 2 if they have 6 or more mana, and you know that Battle Mash is a possibility. They're never going to have mystery damage from hand. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why in tournament play doesn't seem as good on ladder because players can understand what their power level is.
On ladder, it can be a bit trickier as well because you're not quite sure how much healing is going to go on. Again, the deck as a whole, it sometimes draws a lot of healing, sometimes does not by the nature of how it is built. But at least you know the build when it's revealed lists like this. On ladder, sometimes they just heal every turn. You're like, please stop. Are you playing any minions? Did you remember your minions? But yeah, when it's open like this, you know exactly what you're up against each and every turn. Not the easiest deck to beat, but the easiest deck to line up against, like you've just explained. Why? Yes?
It is so good.
Job's done.
He's got Octobot, a way to activate it, field contact in hand. The Shroud changes things. I think now he can go Shroud first, then discount with the Octobot, and then field contact on 5. Unless he thinks that's too slow, but to be honest, like he's clocking for 3 with this Neophyte. And I mean, turn 5 to draw more than half your deck seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what you just said. You know what you're up against. This deck isn't going to suddenly play 2 8/8s and kill you the next turn. It's going to do that to you, but not until turn 6 or 7. And so why not go for the absolute greed on your Octobot, which will speed you up in the long run, even if you're a bit slower. And this 3 damage is relevant. We saw earlier games where maybe you're just not quite going to get the combo off, but if you put the 6 Garots in and you only need to hit with 2 or 3 of them, because you put your opponent down to, I don't know, 14 or something, yeah, pick a number that isn't a factor of 4-0. Good call. It can help you a lot getting these chip damage in. He is in a very good spot, but now it's fun time.
Oh yeah, fun time. Big fan of fun times. Ooh, gonna get. Oh, he's getting greedier. Ooh. He's gonna look for a 1 here and then discount a 1 to have another draw.
Yeah, he's got the rush as well if he wants it here to take down the 5-1.
Got to be careful with draw a card. If field contact, you'll draw 2 cards. You have a full hand. You want to be incredibly careful.
You also have to be careful not to take one that doesn't say battle cry or spell damage. Sometimes it goes, oh, this looks good, but yeah, you suddenly realise that you're trying to draw a card with it later on and you don't have battle cry on it. It's like, why is my field contact not working? This is bugged. Blizzard, I'd like to report a bug. And then you realise it hasn't got battle cry on the card, and it's absolutely fine.
There you go. Battle cry. Deal 3 damage.
Seems good.
Nice. All right. First, we check for, can we get a Flesh Giant down this turn? Answer is no. Well,
not sensibly, I think is the answer. Could have gone Tour Guide into Raise Dead, but yeah, it wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, he would have had to like pick up the Tour Guide first, but Flesh Giants are going to be cheap enough because next turn he can tap, Raise Dead, Unstable, Dragon Soul, probably get both of them down, to be honest.
Yep, absolutely. He's high enough health total to be able to go for that as well. Battlemaster in hand sets up the lethal for turn 7. But that sounds all well and good, but Rami is about to set up his own pretty rapid lethal looking thing, although he's getting really greedy on these Octobots.
This is fine. On turn 5, if you're spending 3 mana to go with Octobot, you're not playing the field contact that turn. So he realized that he had enough juice in hand to get enough draws from the field contact to warrant it. And what this will do is, usually around turn 6 is when the Handlock starts to play their bigger threats like Flesh Giant. And if you can also present threats on the other side of the board, then that's beneficial. But ultimately doesn't hit like Guardian Aug Merchant or anything to protect it from a singular removal. Oh, wait a second.
Waiting.
So it could go tap, Raise Dead, and a Theron, and double Flesh Giant, right? Because this will bring it down to 2. It'll complete the quest. That'll bring it down to 1. And he can go
Yeah, he can drain. He can do what he likes.
He can go Null, Drain, double Flesh Giant. He can go Cult Neophyte, Drain, double Flesh Giant. That might be better.
Yes, it would, because if we look on the other side here, Rami, he doesn't have a guaranteed lethal or anything next turn, but he can go for it next turn in pretty good terms.
Oh,
be,
man.
you know, throwing some Garots in there and hoping, but he's got the makings of getting lucky. No, it's not a big chance, but it's possible. So Dimitri wants to make sure he wins the turn after, is what I'm saying.
I don't even know if it's even possible.
Oh, it's definitely possible. You need to draw some preps along the way, but it's not about the winning or losing. It is about the preps we drew along the way.
So we
now they're stopped.
Yeah. I guess with the Ethereal Augmented draw, let's say he went
Octo, Org Merchant.
Org Merchant. I think he would have to start with Field Contact. He can't spend 3 mana initially and then have enough mana to keep going, right?
Then you throw the Garots in there, and then you just keep drawing Shadow Steps and Preps, and you get really, really lucky on the Garots coming out.
Efficient is sufficient.
Yeah.
But that's why, so going back to why I'm making that comment, because it's not likely, but it was like the only way he could get lucky is that the Neophyte cuts out the Shadow Steps, it cuts out the Preps, and means that you can't get lucky.
Yeah.
Ever, basically.
He needed double to be able to double Brain Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he can pick up Prep off the top and still prep out the Brain Freeze.
Choose soon.
Sure.
And he is a big old dead.
D-E-D.
Glacial Racer.
Well, that was ridiculous series.
Yeah.
And remember, Rami won 3-0 yesterday in the other half of this group stage. So I don't know what the difference was. Presumably he got an early win with the Rogue and then just tore through with his aggro stuff, like his Shadow Priest and so on.
Yeah. I'm actually going to look real quick as Dimitri gives his celebratory salute in this ongoing rivalry.
He's now learned to sit so that the Monsanto hat is actually right above his head. So it looks like the hat is being worn. I think he's definitely channeling the South American power of the Monsanto hat.
All right, so here's how the series went yesterday when Rami 3-0'd. Rami took a win in Game 1, which was his Garrote Rogue against the Brute Demon Hunter. Game 2, Rami won the Handlock Mirror, and then Game 3, Rami won Quest Shaman versus Handlock. So, it's not like these crazy matchups. It was Shadow Priest ban, and then, you know, he just kind of won some decent matchups across the board. So, if you look at it from that perspective, where Rami didn't really have like this hard counter lineup, the lineups were, you know, pretty even overall when you consider the matchups. It's just, you know, when you have those between 45 and 55% lineups, you know, sometimes you'll see 3-0s, but from the other direction from time to time. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And Dimitri moves on to Saturday, joins Fled in Group A as the 2 players that we'll be seeing in the top 8 tomorrow.
Looking forward to seeing him again. I think it was also, I feel like Dimitri has had a fairly rough time